The Invisible Man is a British, 1933 science fiction horror film, directed by James Whale, and is based on the novel by H.G. Wells. Our story starts on a snowy winter evening, where we see a mysterious man on his way to a small pub in a town called Iping, in Sussex. Much to the astonishment of the pissheads inside, the man is completely covered head to toe in clothing, but also bandages, and some snazzy sunglasses. Pretty sensible if you ask me. It looked bloody freezing out there. The locals proper shit themselves at the mere sight of him for some reason. He's just a chilly dude looking for a place to warm his cockles. Reluctantly, the innkeepers agree to give him a room with a fire, and he demands to be left alone. They try to help him out by making him feel comfortable in his room, but he's a real prick about it. Definitely not one for conversation. After that, the locals speculate that he must be a fugitive on the run, or maybe just snowblind. Either way, his presence makes everyone suspicious and uneasy. It's clear that the mystery man wants nothing more than a bit of peace and quiet, but the nosy landlady keeps interrupting him. What is her problem? Then we see why this guy's been so secretive. He removes his handkerchief only to reveal half his face is invisible. I bet this scared the crap out of people in 1933. A few days go by, and the cranky old weirdo hasn't paid his rent, so the landlord decides to confront him. His plan is to kick him out on his ass, but it doesn't quite map out that way. The room is full of test tubes and beakers and chemistry doodads. What is this dodgy geezer up to? Their meeting quickly gets heated, and the poor landlord gets chucked down the stairs for his troubles. Right, that's it, time to get the old Bill involved, and get rid of this lunatic once and for all. When the policeman, and half the townspeople, storm into the lodger's room, he removes his bandages, and shows the world what is really going on underneath. Naturally, they freak out as he laughs maniacally. He strips down to his shirt, and treats them to a little dance, before they chase him around the room. Once naked, he is completely invisible. In true villainous style, he explains his heinous experiment to the dumbfounded locals. A deadly chemical is injected under the skin every day for a month to achieve his disappearing act, then he can rule the world in his invisible form. The policeman attempts to apprehend the invisible dickhead with the help of the locals, but gets throttled, and the nudie criminal legs it. He knocks over furniture, an old git gets his hat thrown into a stream, and he nicks someone's bicycle before yeeting it at some villagers. Take that. Meanwhile, we learn that the Invisible Man is actually called Griffin, and his experiment could have grave consequences. One of the chemicals used can turn the subject mad, which would explain his violent tendencies. Dr. Cranley, played by Henry Travers from It's a Wonderful Life, is keen to help find Griffin so he can reverse the effects of the drug, whereas his partner Dr. Kemp is quite frankly terrified by the whole affair. One night, Griffin pays the cowardly Dr. Kemp a visit, and tells him he has chosen him to be his dastardly accomplice in his reign of tyranny. He will begin with some big murders, and small murders too, maybe even a train wreck as well. Dr. Kemp doesn't really have a choice, as Griffin says if he doesn't help him, he'll just kill him. Hard to argue with those terms. Griffin is a proper old bossy boots, and with the help of Dr. Kemp, makes a start on his invisible siege. So there we have it, a drugged-up invisible loony with ambitions of world domination, a scientist and his daughter who want to cure him of his insane affliction, and a town full of bumbling policemen, who couldn't find their asses with both hands. Will Griffin succeed in terrorizing the town? Will Flora, his old love interest, be able to speak some sense into him? And after double-crossing the Invisible Man, what will become of the foolhardy Dr. Kemp? Oh my, this doesn't look good. Maybe he can escape. Nope. What a horrible way to go. This was my first time watching The Invisible Man, and I absolutely loved it. The special effects were actually pretty decent, especially considering this movie came out in the early 30s. There are times when you can see the strings for the moving objects, but it definitely doesn't detract from the magic of the scenes. Claude Rains does a great job as, what is mainly Griffin's voice, for the majority of the movie. His deep masterful delivery really portrays Griffin as both a powerful scoundrel, and a childlike menace. My favorite scene is when Griffin is ambushed by several police officers. They surround him, and for a moment, it looks like they may actually be able to capture their imperceptible foe. But the wily doctor outsmarts the clumsy constables, with hysterical results. A pinched nose, a hat knocked off, and a swift kick up the arse start the proceedings, before one of the highlights of the movie occurs. A policeman is lifted off the floor by his feet and is then spun around the garden. It's hilarious to see him rotating in mid-air. He is then tossed into a bunch of policemen like yesterday's newspaper, and his trousers escape over the garden wall. We next see a woman running away from a dancing pair of trousers. This scene is so fun and playful, you even forget that Griffin is a psychotic killer, and it is a welcome break from his maniacal monologues. The Invisible Man is a dark comic masterpiece, and though it isn't a particularly scary movie, the premise is terrifying. After all, there is no escape from a murderer you can't see or hide from. You simply have to see this black and white horror classic. It's a real treat that definitely deserves repeat viewings. So there we go, another review all done and dusted. Feel free to like and comment on this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care, and I'll see you next time on another HorrorBot review. Cheers, babes.